Greetings everyone and welcome back to Kadic Reviews, and this one is a big one because it's a current game. Only twice in the history of my time using the great service known as GameFly have I gotten games pretty much on the first week of release. The other is the game I would rather forget, Destiny. The second is the subject of today's review. To describe Street Fighter V is to describe what could begin as a current problem in video games, which is what I like to refer to as the minimalist principle. In other words, come out with the bare minimum to make the game work, add things pretty much on a monthly basis, and then hope and pray to God that the fans remain. With Street Fighter V, this is the case. A game funded completely, or at least mostly, off of Sony's own dime. Street Fighter V is, of course, the 5th numbered installment in the fabled Street Fighter franchise. A franchise that has been around as long as I have been around. Since 1987, with the first arcade game, which nobody really played and barely recognizes, to the legendary Street Fighter 2 and its a million different versions, and so on. Street Fighter V is a weird thing chronologically. I don't know if I can tell you it's after 2, but before 3. But after 4. So, it's strange, to say the least. Here's the thing about the story, though. It's not fleshed out. A lot of the character motivations are there, but with the lack of any real story yet. And trust me, that word yet will be the theme of this review, because here's a little nickname that I'm going to give Street Fighter V. I like to call it Street Fighter 1/5, as in fraction, because that's essentially what you're getting here. Just a fraction of what greatness this game could be. Yes, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that Killer Instinct Season 1 practically started as a small piece of itself, with a lot of the same features at launch. But here's where the problem arises. Street Fighter V is charging full price. Killer Instinct back 2 years ago was only charging $20. In other words, it came out as a free-to-play / budget title. This game demands full price right away. Yes, the DLC for it in the future will be absolutely free, which is a plus, and all the additional updates will add all the respective modes in place. Most notably, 8-person lobbies will be coming in March, along with the shop, in which you can purchase everything that you can unlock the game through in-game fight money, instead of unlocking it. But of course, that's in March, not right now. That's why, for the first time in Kadic Review's history, this game will be reviewed twice. This review will be for what the game is now. 6 months from now, we will return to the game. That's right. We'll return to the game in August, with all of its features and some of the DLC released, to see if the game has a better score at the time. But what you're getting now is definitely not worth $60. It's not even worth $30. It's worth $25. What are you getting in Street Fighter V? Well, you're getting 16 characters. Eight of them are returning from previous Street Fighters. Cammy, and of course Ryu and Ken, because no Street Fighter would be Street Fighter without it. Example being first version of Street Fighter 3 for you history buffs. Cammy, m.bision, Dalsim, which to me that's a weird choice. Chung-Li, which always is in there, from Street Fighter 3. You have Nash returning as well as Birdie from the Alpha franchise. And of course you have new characters. Rashid, which plays pretty much like a high-speed Con-Ra. Laura, which is a high-speed, in-your-face grappler. Fong, who has a spinal-like poison system, and Necroli, who's quickly becoming a fan favorite on the online servers. A strange being looking for souls of fighters to absorb to regain his godly power. As far as the gameplay goes, this is where Street Fighter excels. The gameplay, when it works, is smooth, fast, and for the first time in some cases, approachable. But it's not as approachable as its contemporaries. You see, Street Fighter has always been a game of technical skill, and Street Fighter V is no exception. You still need to know a large part of how each character works, especially with their new V skill and V triggers. These are unique skills that each character has in its bag. Ryu can parry circa Street Fighter 3. Ken can rush down with his flaming feet. The returning Karine can use her hands as electrified weapons of death. Zangief can become a living tornado, and so on and so forth. How you use these skills combined with the V triggers, which you can only gain via gaining damage, can be the difference between you winning and losing. Of course, there are EX moves back in the game, a charged up version of normal specials, and the critical arts, which are essentially your ultra combos from before. How you deal with all of this can determine the difference between wins and losses. Plus, there's been a slight tweak to the combo system in the game. Instead of combos being what they call in the fighting game community 1 frame lengths, the frame lengths have been changed to 3 frame lengths, allowing combos to more easily connect with time. Unfortunately, in the case of characters like Nash, this causes their recovery to be horrible. Meaning, if you know your links with a much faster character than Nash, you'll wind up on the receiving end of multitudes of beatdowns. And trust me, unlike Killer Instinct that has a more casual open curve, this game takes hours of training, repeated losses, and studying of tape to really get good. Although the controls are more casualized than ever, unfortunately the DualShock 4 does not help in this matter. The control response of the DualShock 4 is slow at best, and getting moves to be hammered out can sometimes be a challenge. The analog sticks of the DualShock 4 seem ill-equipped to handle the quick response time. D-pad seems to work better in most cases, but I would say use none of this. In other words, you're gonna have to spend big money on an arcade stick if you want the response time to be acceptable at best. But here's where Street Fighter V lacks, and I'm sure you've heard it in many other reviews, by the lack of content. There is no standard arcade mode, no versus computer one-on-one, and no true story mode. There is a story mode, however, that tells a short clip of a story through comic book, well animated stills, and some great voice work. For a point of reference, Rainbow Nika's voice sounds like Rainbow Dash in English. I dare you, put both of the voices up, and you'll see they kind of sound like each other. But none of these story modes are really fulfilling or makes you ask questions about what's going to happen later in June when a full cinematic story gets put into the game. Other than that, you have a survival mode which challenges you with multiple one-round fights. Using your points, you can supplement your health back or give yourself a one-match advantage to go through a series of opponents to unlock colors for costumes. That's right, the unlocks are few, far between, and weak. A lot of the custom costumes you'd either have to get from pre-ordering the game, or you'll have to wait till next month for the shop to come out. This is where the fight money comes in. Through fight money, you can unlock everything. Costumes, colors, whatever your mind desires. Even the free DLC characters can be unlocked via this method. So there's no need to go out and buy the $25 season pass unless you want early access. And from the looks of things, some of the characters are Street Fighter veterans, and a couple of them will be brand new characters. But a lot of the early complaints leading into Street Fighter V were based on a lot of the fan favorite characters being left out. Namely, Sagat, among others like Blanca or E Honda being left on the cutting room floor. Guile, for instance, is a DLC character coming later, not in the default roster. In terms of the music of the game, some of the themes, like Ryu's and Nakali's and Ken's, work really well. But a lot of them, like Rashid, m.bision, and even Cammy, and some of the other new themes seem overproduced, way too rhythmic, way too lack of rhythm, and throwing instruments into the fray, mainly m.bision, using a form of dubstep-like synthesizer alongside with the instrumental. This can sometimes create the character themes being graining at best and hard to listen to. The background animations and the animations itself are some of the most beautiful in the PlayStation 4's library. There's no doubt of the beauty of this game. If there's one thing I can give this game, it's great to look at. But you probably don't care about any of this. You probably just want to know if the online functions. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it doesn't. A lot of the time, players over the course of the first week have had multiple disconnects from games and the servers itself. I, for one, in a search for a ranked match on PlayStation 4, had to attempt more than 30 times to test the servers. I only got into 3 playable games, and even then I had to customize my search to 4 or 5 bar matches. Other than that, I would disconnect from the game and be sent back to the main menu to search again. On top of that, the loading times for Street Fighter 4 on console are completely unacceptable. And it is in this critic's opinion that they are the worst loading times on PlayStation 4 to date for an individual game. Which the slow loading times could be a lot of the reason for the rampant disconnect from games. Plus, with only 2-player lobbies right now and a lack of true features, there isn't really a lot right now to invest in the game. Plus, to play the game and to maintain all your stats, you must be online at all times. There isn't really much you can do with Street Fighter V if you don't have a PSN account and a stable online connection. Yes, you can play with PC players as well, but PC has none of the loading time problems and better connection. So, on the console side, you're suffering tremendously until all the stuff comes out. Pretty much Street Fighter V winds up to be a waiting game. A waiting game that is too disappointing for words. Hopefully, when we revisit this game in 6 months, it will finally live up to the 8 and 4-star ratings that it's been getting from the major critics. I'm here to tell you, they're wrong. And right now, Mortal Kombat Extra Large and Killer Instinct, which is also coming to the PC in a month, would be games that I would recommend right now that you buy in the fighting game department. Do not buy this right now. Wait 3 or 4 or 5 months when all the features are put in, and then buy Street Fighter V. But right now, you're only buying 1/5 of a game. That's why it's only getting 1/5 of a score. Right now, Street Fighter V gets a 4 out of 10. A miserable excuse of short change to try to get large money. Unless you're dedicated to online and dedicated to the endless hours of getting your ass beat to learn how the game works, this game does not have enough features or good enough netcode to sustain the large loading times, lack of musical originality, and most of all, the lack of content. Everything may be free in the future, but it's pretty much a waiting game or a test on your patience. So be careful to buy Street Fighter V right now, because this is the very definition of an investment game. And I am sorely disappointed in the people of Capcom for shortchanging our love for a quick buck. Get your act together, Capcom. Find peace in your own nirvana. and thanks for watching.